Hello. Okay. I'm the middle because it's too handsome guy behind. Actually, when we brainstorming, we have a lot of people. Our group is come from different city, and then I'm kind of narcissist people. So the first thing I want to choose my hometown is Bandung, but and then every people have their own choice. But now we decide to choose Jakarta because even though we come from other city, but we live in Jakarta. That's why we choose. We have to choose that Jakarta is our favorite city because we live here. We have to be favorite with here. And then the thing from Jakarta, the first thing that we're thinking is about food, about traditional food. Traditional food, just like I'm thinking about the first thing that when I go to Jakarta, the food that I really want to eat is ketoprak. Maybe people here have to eat ketoprak too. And then the other thing, I can read it, sorry. I have to move. And then pecak ikan. Did you know pecak ikan? Yeah, you have to try. It's in Pasar Minggu. It's very delicious pecak ikan. You have to try it. And then kerak telur. Maybe do you want to try about kerak telur? You can go to in Monas. There was, I don't know what Jakarta place. I forget the place, but there was school in Jakarta Culinary. And then what is ketoprak, pecak ikan, and then we choose another thing. It's Jakarta is about culture. Jakarta is very multicultural city because actually from Betawi is come from Arabic, Chinese, some Javanese, some Sundanese. So there's many dialect in Jakarta. But the thing in Jakarta is Tari Yapong, and then ondel-ondel. Maybe you have to see. Have to watch ondel-ondel. We can see in the street now ondel-ondel show. And then entertainment. Jakarta is very entertainment city. You can find a mall. I don't know. I heard from some people that a lot of mall in Jakarta is the most city with a lot of mall in Jakarta. You can find a mall everywhere. Near here, you can find Pacific Place and other Grand Indonesia and then the other thing. And then about theater, you can find theater in every mall. If you like to watch movie or do something. And then amusement park. Actually, there's a lot of government public park that government have to provide to our public people. And then it's very clean and very cool. I have to try a lot of like Menteng Park. We have to go to Spatudea Park or something else. It's very beautiful. And then the unique thing is Jakarta is about, what was the last thing is tourism destination. First, about 2 years ago, after I live in Jakarta about a year, I have joined some group called Backpacker Jakarta. We love to explore Jakarta in other side. We have to go to, actually, when we saw Jakarta, people think that expensive thing, to high building, so modern. People like goes, no, there's a lot of place in Jakarta that I think is we have to explore about. It's like a museum, a lot of beautiful museum with the beautiful building come from ancient, from maybe 100 or 200 years ago. And then you can find mangrove forest in Pantai Indah Kapuk. You can find, do you want to see about traditional Jakarta, you can go to Setu Babakan. And then you can go to Monas. Everybody know Monas. And then you want to try some traditional food, but you can try at Monas. I think, can I?
Just want to talking about the process. Actually, we put the generic word on the center like Jakarta. So, yeah, just want to add like the process actually.
Yes, that's good.
We put the more generic word like food. So after food, we put like more details on the generic food, the generic word food. We put like more details like this, and then like so it's also implement to others ideas, which is we put the generic word here and then more details on supporting document there.
Great.
That's all.
Yeah, great. Okay, this is very good. So I want to ask the audience a couple questions. When you look at these papers, do you see any techniques that are more effective than others? Do you prefer one of these styles?
I prefer the one that has already been classified. It's like the middle and the other end. Yeah, because the other one is still scattering. We can see that that one is really still brainstorming.
Exactly. So this one may be a technique that's better in the early stages of pre-writing, because really they have more words and more ideas over here than anyone else. So there's definitely a benefit to this technique, but it was easier for the groups on this side to even give this presentation, to even talk. It was easier to listen to it, and it was easier for them to make presentations about the cities than it was for you, because it was hard to look at this page and then know how to explain it to the group, right? So you can see how it sort of grows as you're going along, and how the structures can help. And I think even here we can see that, like you were just explaining in the process, when you put the general words in the middle and then a little bit more specific and then even more specific, it helps you in that process. But that's the same process that you went through. They just look different, right? So it just may be a personal preference on how you prefer to do it. Do you prefer to look at it in a hierarchical fashion, or do you prefer to think about it a little bit more abstract and a little bit more visual? So are you a person that likes to think of it like a formula, or a little bit more abstract? So this may just be two different versions of the same kind of thing, but you may have a personal preference. But it's a nice contrast to see where we can start from, and the benefits and the challenges of this, and the benefits and challenges of this as well. These presentations were lovely. They had a much easier time to explain to all of us, but they have fewer ideas than this group over here. So there's pluses and minuses to all three of these. You may find they are more beneficial and more helpful in one situation, and in another situation, and in another situation. Thank you so much for your help. Oh, this photo is very big. The way to get good ideas is to get lots of ideas and throw the bad ones away. This is a great summary of the first part of our presentation. Okay, we're going to move right along to procrastination and time management. This is the second half of our presentation. So procrastination is that idea where we know we have this deadline coming, we know we need to write this thing, and we think of 100 other things that we could do instead of writing. For me, when I know I have a deadline coming up, my house is very clean. Because I will find a reason to do more dishes or to mop the floors. Maybe I have mopped my floors 3 times this week. But I think of 100 other things that I should do before I sit down to write, because I am letting procrastination win. It is the thief of time. So, here is our definition of procrastination. And I think we, as teachers, we fight against this with our students. And as writers and academics, we fight against this ourselves too. We are not immune from it. Procrastinators in general focus on unimportant tasks like mopping my floors 3 times in 1 week in order to avoid the more challenging task of writing what I know I need to write. But this does not mean that I'm lazy. This just means I'm having an internal battle between me and that deadline, right? It doesn't mean that you're a lazy person if you have a hard time with this. It just means that we need to find some ways to get around this, some tools and some tricks. So that's what we're going to talk about now. Here are some tips. Set a time each week to work on the writing, even if it's just 20 minutes. I know some people that will just set a timer on their phone and just say, this is my 20 minutes. I'm just going to close the door to my office. When the timer rings, then it's okay, I'm done. But they just need to set that timer, press start, and wait for it to go, just to give themselves a tool. I'm just going to be accountable to my cell phone right now. Start, just 20 minutes. But at least they get one step. And then the next week, 20 minutes. And then the next week, 20 minutes. But it's something. It's at least being active in that pre-writing stage. 20 minutes of brainstorming. 20 minutes to mind map. Just 20 minutes to look at more structures. But just setting aside that 20 minutes and just breaking it down into a smaller piece can really be helpful. Break them down into smaller pieces to focus on one task at a time. So don't look at it and sit there and say, I need to just write something. This is too big. Break it down and say, I'm just going to look at the introduction today. Today, I'm just going to spend 20 minutes, only the introduction. And then just spend those 20 minutes doing the introduction. And then the next day, do 20 more minutes on something else. Break it down into smaller pieces. Remind yourself of your goals. I had you write down a goal on a little piece of paper. This is a great idea. Just keep this tacked on your wall. As soon as you set that timer, look at that piece of paper to say, what is my end goal again? Oh, yes. Okay. Just remind, refresh, and then click the timer, start your 20 minutes. Don't compare yourself to others. Maybe your colleague across the hall is publishing all the time and they're so good at writing. That's not your style. You're writing different things. You have different research. Your context might be different. Don't compare yourself to someone else. If you're a student, same thing. The person that sits next to you may have pages and pages and pages of writing. Maybe they're good at free writing. Maybe you're better at writing the outline and taking a slower, steady approach. You may just have a different style. It doesn't do any good to compare yourself and then to think like, oh, I'm a failure at this. I'm not very good at this. This isn't helpful to achieving our goal. And reward yourself for completing the work. Give yourself a treat at the end of the week. I achieved my writing goals every single day. I wrote for 10 minutes. Every day for the whole week, I'm going to buy myself a cup of coffee. I'm going to go to Jayco and get myself a donut. But give yourself little rewards along the way and say, hey, I achieved my goals this week. Like, good for me. This is good, you know. Give yourself a little treat for achieving your goals. And I'm going to skip the pre-write, but I want to talk about it a little bit. What are the top 3 ways to put off doing things that you need to get done? And what strategies do you use to overcome procrastination? So you can think about how you do this. I'll tell you mine. The top 3 ways that I put off things that I need to do are I clean my house, top to bottom. I do things for my daughter. I think, oh, I should start working on her Halloween costume. It's July. I don't need to work on a Halloween costume. But I think of things that, you know, oh, I should make an art project for my daughter. I should, you know, help her with her studies. I should do something else. I think of things for my daughter. And a third thing, probably I think of other things for class. I use my other teaching responsibilities to say, oh, I don't have time to write my own work because I should do a better job preparing my next lesson. I should make a new activity for next week to help them study or make some more exercises instead of doing the writing I know I should be doing. Those are my top 3 ways. Strategies I use to overcome procrastination, all of these. I break it into smaller pieces. I set a timer. I'll put a reminder on my phone, and I'll say 3 o'clock, stop what you're doing. Like that, I write it to myself, stop what you're doing. So then the timer will pop up and say, stop, sit down and write. So that's a way I talk to myself on my cell phone, by typing in the alarm. That's one way. What else? I find that my brain is fresh in the morning, so it's better for me if I wake up and I go straight to my computer. When I know I have big deadlines coming up, I make it the first thing I do in the morning. I don't have time to think of any procrastination because I wake up, I go straight to my computer. Nothing else in between. I don't have time to convince myself to do anything else. I just go straight to my computer. Those are my techniques.